This story that you're about to see makes me both incredibly happy and incredibly sad at the exact same time. This is the Independent reporting. They say, changes to minimum wage and tax policy came into force in New Zealand today. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern had promised to raise the minimum wage to $20 per hour and to raise taxes on the wealthiest Kiwis. The rise in wages means that the income of 175,500 New Zealanders will be increased by $44 each week. Quote, today's rise to $20 per hour is estimated to boost wages across the economy by $216 million, giving New Zealanders more money to spend at local business. Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety Michael Wood said, there are many Kiwis who earn the minimum wage who have gone above and beyond in our fight against COVID. I think everyone agrees those who served us so well during lockdown, including supermarket workers, cleaners, and security guards, deserve a pay raise, the minister added. The new changes also impact the top 2% of earners in New Zealand, those on salaries over $180,000, who will now be taxed by 39%. So, it was 33%, and now they raised the top rate to 39%. And I'll give you some more information here because that's not the end of the positive, amazing new policies they implemented. Benefit rates have been risen now by 3.1%. Student allowances have been upped, and the necessary deposit for first-time home buyers has been reduced from 20% of the total cost of the property to just 5%. And Prime Minister Ardern took a 20% pay reduction in April of 2020 in solidarity with those who would be struggling financially as a result of the economic effects of the pandemic. $20 minimum wage, benefits increased 3.1%, taxes on the wealthy raised from 33% to 39%. Did it casually, straightforward, and she said as she did it, I promised this on the campaign trail, so now I'm delivering on it. What? It's so hard to wrap your mind around that because virtually every single thing Joe Biden said, he's gone back on. $15 minimum wage, they left it out and they blamed the parliamentarian who has zero power. Public option, he ran on the public option. Totally took that off the table. I don't think he said the words public option since he's become president, and now all they want to do is expand the Affordable Care Act and subsidize COBRA and subsidize the health insurance companies to expand the Affordable Care Act. I mean, you name it. He proposed $7 trillion in infrastructure spending on the campaign trail. Now his actual proposal is $2.25 trillion, more than cut it in half. You literally, in the United States, they have baked into the cake of the process that you lie when you campaign and you're worse when you're elected. The whole idea, they call it a pivot. I did a general election pivot. And then once I got elected when I was in office, I pivoted again. So in other words, what they're saying is, I lied to you twice already. That's what I did. And I'm going to pretend I'm some sort of hero after lying to you twice and totally changing my position. So in the primary, you say, just to give rough examples here, we're going to do $10 trillion on infrastructure. Yes. Yes. Then in the general, you say, we're going to do $7 trillion on infrastructure because we need to be more centrist now because we're in a general election. We got to be more centrist. Can't be extreme lefties. And then after you get elected, we're going to do $2.25 trillion in infrastructure because $7 trillion, while it was the general election position, well, now I'm actually in power and I can actually do something. So now I'm just going to say, well, I got to work with the right and the stuff and the things was in my eyes and me and Craig was by the Safeway. So what happened was we dropped it somehow. $2.25 trillion is the best we could do. And that's what they do. And to be fair, it's not just Biden. It's virtually every mainstream politician. This is what they do. They say one thing in the primary, then it's another thing in the general, then it's another thing when they're in power. And I swear to you, they think they're geniuses when they do this. They think it's brilliant. They're like, I got it. I'll pivot. Because that's what they've been told by every single idiot corporate strategist in their adult lives. They've been told this is the conventional wisdom. This is just the way it works. You know who really represents the game changer position? People who are not willing to just go along to get along with the conventional wisdom. People who don't just listen to the corporate staffers. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They have no idea. Biden barely won an election against Donald Trump, and Donald Trump oversaw a pandemic and an economic collapse. You gonna trust these idiots? Don't listen to a word they say. It turns out real people like real people. So when Jacinda Ardern says, I'm going to raise it to $20 an hour when she's running for office, and then she gets into power and she raises it to $20 an hour, people are going to go, well, that was fucking awesome. I sure do like that. Higher wages for regular people seems like a swell thing. See, this is what I'm saying. A lot of people in the U.S. don't get it. They don't understand. We just think, if you're new to politics, you probably just think like, well, this is how it works. You have an election, and the election is relatively close, and either the Republican squeaks it out or the Democrat squeaks it out, and then we move forward. Because, what you do is you look back. You can go back to like the year 2000, 21 years ago. Look at all the general presidential elections since then. Everyone's relatively close, right? I mean, sure, you could have some, Mitt Romney versus Obama. Obama got over 300 electoral votes. But it's usually just over 300 electoral votes, right? And it could be like Bush versus Gore, which was razor thin. Or it could be, Trump versus Hillary. Trump got just over 300 electoral votes, even though Hillary won the popular vote by millions. Biden, same thing. He got just over 300 electoral votes. Relatively close, right? You look around and you're like, okay, there's a lot of blue on that map. There's a lot of red on that map. What are you going to do? You don't understand what's possible if you actually fight for the people and deliver on your promises. You want to see what's possible? Go look at some of FDR's election maps. That's what's possible if you actually fight for the people. I mean, and to be fair, it's not just FDR. There's been, like, Ronald Reagan won in some fucking landslides too. Okay, so it's possible to have an election where you win like 45 out of 50 states. But people don't think that's possible because they don't think big anymore because we're so used to politicians lying to us, and politicians think it's brilliant when they lie to you in service of a pivot. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. So it is refreshing as fuck to see Jacinda Ardern follow through on her campaign promises. And by the way, listen, I don't know nearly enough about New Zealand politics, so I can't comment too much on this. But my guess is you go look at the way that, their system is run, and they don't have complete and utter billionaire control of the system, corporate control of the system, special interests and lobbyists controlling every single move. They don't have that. So when you don't have that, it turns out in a representative democracy, the politicians are more representative of the democratic will of the people. I know, crazy, insane, right? I mean, our system is so broken. You got to get the corporate money out of the system. You got to get the corruption out of the system. You really got to do a direct ballot initiative law at the federal level so people vote directly on the most important issues. It would be amazing in this country if tomorrow we in this country could vote on whether or not to have Medicare for all, universal health care, whether or not to legalize marijuana, whether or not to have $15 minimum wage, whether or not to end the wars. If we could vote on that tomorrow, the correct position will win on every single one of those things. So the problem is not the people. The people are there. The people are where they need to be. Most of them are where they need to be. The problem is the politicians who are corrupt, who are bought and owned, who are paid liars, and who would never be as straightforward and as correct as Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand with what she did here. The only criticism I could see of her, which would be legit, is, what took you so long? That's all. That's the only thing. She's been in office for a while. What took you so long? That's the only thing I could say. I could see. But honestly, given how low the bar is here in the U.S., I'll fucking take it. I don't care when you do it, just fucking do it. And she did it. She did it. She did unequivocally. I can't tell you the last time I looked at a bill in the U.S. and was like, I have zero criticisms of this. I don't know if I've ever done that. Maybe I have. I don't know. But if I have, it's not popping in my mind right now. I've never looked at a politician do something in the U.S. and say, that's it right there. This bill is correct. Everything about it. No criticisms. New Zealand, embrace it, bathe in it, enjoy it, because it ain't nothing like what we got going on here.